Hello and welcome to Tartan Touchdown, Scotland's voice in the world of American football. We are back for a brand new season. The NFL is literally moments away. And guys, I've got to say it straight off the bat. This is the year for my Jags. I'm talking Trevor Lawrence MVP campaign is incoming. Book it now. BTJ, Travis Hunter is the best dual threat in the AFC. And do not get me started on that defense. Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker are going to wreck the South. Jaguars are the dark horse Super Bowl contenders, and you heard it here first. But okay, enough of my Jags chat. Let's get in the rest of the crew. So first up, we've got Dan, who's our resident Cowboys man. Dan, I'm sure you're already sharpening up the annual "This is our year" speech for Dallas.
I mean, we've just before we came on, we had a conversation about how bad the South was. Serious, I don't know how much your opening pitch actually holds much weight. To be fair,
it does, because it's so bad that there is no reason that we cannot be good, right? Yeah, this is what I mean.
For the Cowboys this year, I'm not having the "This is our year" speech because everything has changed for us. New head coach, some contract issues. We don't know. We're kind of in that of a lull at the moment, but it's still America's team, isn't it?
It's still America's team. I love the some contract issues, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit discussion later. But next up we have Brian. So Brian, welcome. This is your first kind of episode with us talking about the NFL in full time. I will just say Brian's our loyal Browns supporter, and I say supporter with a lot of sympathy because somehow Cleveland's rolling in at 2025 with 4 quarterbacks. Brian, mate, you've got basically a 25% chance of being right no matter who you hype up this season.
Listen, I'm just glad that I can share the factory of sadness with other people. I'm fully intending to treat this as a support group. Yes, it is time for yet another season of thrilling Browns football. I say thrilling because scary movies are fun to watch and they're thrilling. And everyone dies at the end of those. And that's kind of what watching the Browns for a season feels like. You're just waiting for the bad thing to happen to you. And the question is, will it be by week 3 or will we make it to week 5?
Will we make it to week 5? That's always good when you're like, okay, my length is week 5. That's always a good start. Yeah, that's good. Great. And then last but never least, Ab, who's our resident Giants guy. So your G-Men went out and signed 2 quarterbacks this off-season. So the big question in New York is, are we getting vintage Russell Wilson? Are we getting Jameis Winston chaos? Or is rookie Jackson Dart already stealing the show?
Well, I think we're definitely entering our banter era with the quarterback room that we've got at the moment. That's really something to look forward to. If we revert to time, it's good to be back with the darkness and my old friends in this support group.
Do we have to label this as actually the NFL support group? That we are the terrible NFL teams that nobody wants?
Possibly.
Quite possibly. Oh, Jesus. Come back to week 5 and we'll tell you, everybody. Week 5, we'll tell you. If we're still here. Yeah, who knows? We might all have just jumped off a cliff and going, actually, no.
The ball and went home.
Yes, I've took up shop and I'm done now. But it's great to have the gang back together. And today we're going to dive into everything off season. So I'm talking movers and shakers, anything that's happened, the preseason headlines. And of course, we're going to make our fearless predictions. So we're going to talk about surprise VPs and all importantly, who we think might lift the Lombardi come February. So let's get stuck in. The NFL offseason's been absolutely chaos. I like to call it silly season when I watch F1, and it's silly seasons happened. Big names moving, coaches shuffled around, and some real movers and shakers that could flip the season on its head. But let's start with some players, and I'm going to go straight to Dan because let's talk about Micah Parsons.
Let's talk about Micah Parsons.
Let's talk about it. Go on, Dan. Explain it to the people. Explain it.
Well, it depends who you listen to is how you explain that. Do you trust Jerry Jones? I mean, has anybody watched The Gambler yet? I've not had a chance to sit down and watch the documentary yet, but yeah, it's a strange one. The kind of story coming out of it is that Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones sat down. Jerry Jones thought it was contract talks. Micah Parsons thought it was an informal chat. And certainly by the end of the conversations, Micah Parsons had a contract offer. Jerry Jones claims that Micah Parsons' agent then told him where to stick that contract offer, and we've hit them past since then. Jerry Jones has said he was offering to make Micah Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback in the league with that offer. So if that's what he's been offered, then what is Micah Parsons' agent really after? Because the highest paid non-quarterback in the league is currently is TJ Watt, who's getting $36 million a year. So what is Drew Rosenhaus, isn't it? His agent? What is he? No, it's not. It's David Martaga, isn't it? What's he actually wanting Micah Parsons to get paid is what my question would be. But I think the deal gets done. He's still got a few years left in his contract. It's not as if he's walking out the door at the end of the season. Nobody can afford to trade for him. Micah Parsons will suit up for week 1 and everything will be forgotten about.
Everything will be forgotten.
Or Jenny's fully and
He's always
talking through his back end, and he's offered Micah a soggy bag of skips and a promise of a good time.
See, the thing is, nobody's come out and denied what Jerry Jones has said. His agent has been very vocal in coming out and saying that didn't happen, or that didn't happen. There's been not a word that's come out after he made that comment. He did claim he didn't say where to stick the contract, but he did not dispute Jerry Jones's claim of what the contract offer was.
So what we need is Lamar's mum. We need Lamar's mum. She will get in. She will get this all squared out, and then we can all just focus on the football.
I mean, there was an interview DeMarcus Lawrence done with, I think it was Ryan Clark the other day, and he was asked like about his situation when he was in the Cowboys, and he basically said Jerry Jones told him, "You're on the tag, go out and prove it." And you say Jerry Jones paid him at the end of the year, he kept his word. I mean, he said like, "You're on the tag this year, go and prove yourself." He went out with the mentality as I need to prove myself, and he got paid at the end of that year. And he's like, "You don't know what happened in that room, but Micah Parsons got a couple of years left in his contract, so if you think you're worth $40 million a year, go out again this year and show it, because at the end of the day, you're on the contract." Yeah, I'm not going to take a side in this one. I think it will get sorted out. I think Micah Parsons will sign a new contract, and that'll be the end of it.
Well, listen, if the Trey Hendrickson debacle can get sorted, then surely the Micah Parsons can get sorted. And speaking of Trey Henderson, that's a nice little segue, right? So what has happened in the Bengals camp? Who knows? Again, very similar, I think. It kind of depends what you listen to, because the rumours are actually that Hendrickson's agents kind of maybe done him a bit dirty. But from what I can gather and from what my Bengals loving husband has mentioned it. Gav, any thoughts into what's happened there?
I think this does feel like the Bengals doing Bengals things. I mean, there's a history of kind of biscuit tin mentality. The Bengals heard stories of them failing on kit after the season historically. And yeah, it's sad because this is a team that has great players, more so perhaps on the offensive side of the ball with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. You'd like to think you could put the full squad around them to get it done, but that defense is a massive weakness. Last season doesn't look like they're quick about fixing it up this year.
Yeah. Maybe Brian.
The biggest thing with this, that the Bengal fans out there, and I'm sorry, Bengal fans, and yes, I'm aware I'm a Browns fan, but you do need to remember that you need to field 10 other defenders that are absolutely dog meat. Like, it's honestly, we've all seen the memes all off season. Do you know what's better than having a defense? Making Joe Burrow throw for 400 yards every single week. It's hey, even as a Browns fan, I love watching it. Offense is fab. Paying Trey and only Trey does not fix that defensive unit. Heard of safeties? Fairly sure I'm due a call up at safety.
They've just kicked it down the road for a year, haven't they? Like, we'll give you that money you want, we'll just give you it for a year. So they're going to be in the same situation next year, and then they'll just trade them, they'll just tag them.
Now, I will say, to be fair to the Bengals, I will say that part of it I don't think is wild. At the end of the day, Hendrickson's 30. I think he turns 31 during the season. So he's older. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's an elite player. He's a great talent, all the rest of it. But he is getting on. You don't want to tie down 30 million a year for 3 years. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that with a player that's going to be, you're going to lose all of that investment come the end of that contract. So I get the leaving it so he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. But as I say, it doesn't, like, Trey Hendrickson will be great this year. I have every faith in Trey Hendrickson. I just have no faith in anyone else the Bengals put on D.
You're talking about his age, Brian, that brings us home. I've got a quiz question for you, see if you can get it right. Over the last 10 years, there's been 44 individual seasons where an edge rusher has compiled at least 70 pressures. Hendrickson's done that for 3 years in a row. Out of those 44, 3 of them are his. There's only been one player that has done it that is older than he will be on opening day of this season. So about those 44 seasons, there's one player who will be older than Hendrickson that has done it. Can you name them?
Not a chance.
I guess any edge rusher of recent times of elite status, Khalil Mack is the only player who's registered 70 pressures in a season who is older than Trey Hendrickson will be at the start of the season. So that's probably why the Bengals are not willing to long-term commit on him, because the age as an edge rusher, they will lose a step, and in a position like that, if you lose a step, that's half your season. So, yeah.
Just to ask an unrelated question, how many Super Bowls did Khalil Mack win?
How many has Trey Hendrickson won?
That's an unrelated question.
Do you know what I mean? So
unrelated.
The Bengals have looked at it and thought, at that age, edge rushers they fall off. So you're right, you're saying, like, why would they commit to paying him, let's just say, 90 million when his production by history of some of the elite edge rushers we've seen in this league, it falls off at this age. So why would you commit 90 million to someone who potentially is going to see that, unless he's the second exception to the rule, is going to see that production fall? I agree with the Bengals. It's just been very convoluted the way they've done it, and the way it's all sorted out. But the Bengals are happy for a year. Trey Hendrickson's happy for a year. We'll kick it down the road.
Yeah, sounds good. I guess if we're keeping on the AFC North theme, because that seems to be the theme, the hardest division. Some would say the hardest division in football. But is that because the Browns are in it? But let's talk a bit about Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers. 1 year deal, 19.5 million. Go for it.
It's go big or go home. It's all in for the Super Bowl. This is it. You know what I mean? And to be fair, it's odd actually. There's not as much. Well, maybe I just know sane Steelers fans. I'm not seeing the kind of like mad hype that I would expect from a team that is shamelessly set up to go, do you know what? We have 1 year. We have 1 year. We win a Super Bowl, or are they finally going to blow it up and actually try to go out, get themselves some reasonable draft capital? Mike Tomlin and 500's a meme at this point, and as irritating as that may be for the Browns fans to look on to a team that never seems to go below 500, it's irritating for the Steelers fans because they are every single year they don't have top first round draft capital. We've seen the success the Steelers have had with Big Ben, but you know that if you have a franchise quarterback, there's two ways to win in this league. You either have a franchise quarterback or you have the Avengers, and you surround a decent quarterback with all of the toys. The Steelers haven't done any of that since Big Ben. They have played with bits at quarterback. Jesus, they had Mason Rudolph, and what was left of his helmet after Miles set to it. So yeah, they've went for it. Do you know what, Rodgers? Shows you have one more year in you. He looked passable when he actually played with the Jets. I'm not going to say he looked great, but he didn't look awful when he was actually on the field either. So yeah, Domino, I was about to say something and I'm not, because it's Dan wants to say it later and I won't steal his thunder. I'm not convinced it's going to be successful for them, but I get what they're doing. They've got Rodgers in, they've got DK in as well. They've brought in Jonnu from Miami. They've put a lot in to giving Rodgers some tools in offense. Yeah, that wide receiver room's pretty thin. Once you go beyond DK, it's not brilliant. Steelers defense will be Steelers defense. I have, unfortunately, every faith that that's going to be a functional unit. They will be well coached. They are a well-run organisation. So they will go 500 again. They will go into the playoffs. They'll come out in the first round. They will have a crap draft pick, and the cycle continues.
I mean, on defence, the Steelers look very good. They do. I'm just looking at the depth now. There's some very good players on defence. I don't know if they've went all in offence. Yeah, they've went for Aaron Rodgers, but like you mentioned, you've got DK Metcalf, and then you've got Calvin Austin and Scotty Miller. That's not going all in for a Super Bowl. For our mouth, we don't know what you're going to get with him. As you meant, brought in Jonnu Smith. I like Jonnu Smith, but again, who's going to be there? You've got running backs, probably. They're good at running back. Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson, I think, would be two good running backs for them. But on the offensive side of the ball, I don't think they have went all in. They've went Steelers average, I think. I don't see where a Super Bowl team comes from in that offense. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it because, again, that's the hardest division in football. So how you're coming up against your Lamar Jacksons and your Joe Burrows and getting above that, and whatever happens to you all, and Joe Flacco, because Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco. This is the thing. Like you cannot go past Joe Flacco. That man appears and things happen to teams that it shouldn't happen to. I just don't see them. I don't see them taking one or two in that division. And I don't see there being three teams from that division going into the playoffs. Gav, what's your thoughts on the Steelers making it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much like Brian said. You know, they have that track record of consistency. That consistency is at mediocrity levels, and I think we're kind of had some conversations already about some of the other teams that are on the up elsewhere in the AFC. I think we're expecting the AFC West to be quite competitive this year. There's a lot of chat about the Patriots in the East potentially being a dark horse. So I think you're right. We've seen 3, even 4 teams from that division go to the playoffs. I don't think that's going to cut it this year. And when you've got certainly the Ravens in particular in that division, it's always going to be a chasing effort for Pittsburgh.
See, looking at both depth charts, I think the Browns are better on offense than the Steelers.
Oh, that's the hot take. We're not doing hot takes yet.
I don't think it's that much of a hot take because you know what you're going to get with Joe Flacco, right? You know what you're going to get. Aaron Rodgers, you don't know what you're going to get at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Jerome Ford and Quinton Judkins at running back. That's probably the where you could debate both teams at running back. You could debate both teams.
If you think Quinton Judkins is going to set a single cleat on a field this year, I have some news. I will give you Jerome Ford and Sampson.
Hey, but that's where you can debate the Steelers are potentially stronger. But the wide receiver room, Jerry Jeudy, Zia Vontu, again, we've had the issues, but I think he's a good wide receiver. Cedric Tillman, I think is better than what you're getting in that second stage of the Steelers' offence. And Joku's a much better tight end than what the Steelers have got. So I don't think it's that much of a hot take to say that the Browns' weapons are better than the Steelers' weapons.
Weapons, I would give you. I don't think that's wild. The Steelers have a better running back from that. They just do because Quinton Judkins, as much as he looks incredible, I'll be very, very surprised if he sets foot on a field this year. I think the Browns are actually there is more. I know obviously charges were dropped and stuff. Well, look at what we did with Bond. Charges get dropped to him and he was signed more or less immediately. Charges dropped Judkins and all of a sudden the Browns have discovered morals? I don't think so. I think we know something else is there. But at the end of the day, we have seen... How many games did Rodgers manage last year? He managed the bulk of the season. He didn't miss much time. Flacco, how much of a year are you getting out of him? And then we'll go on and we'll maybe talk about rookies and stuff later at quarterback. We know about the Browns quarterback carousel is like. Neither of them are leading you to stringing together a run of victories. Rodgers could. I'm not saying he will. I think he will, but he could. It's plausible.
Yeah, it is plausible. I just think if you look at the weapons that are there, the Browns have better weapons generally than I think the Steelers have got. I don't say the Browns are going to have a better season than the Steelers, but especially that wide receiver room and the tight end room, I think you'd rather have what the Browns have than what the Steelers have. Anyway.
It's official. Dan's back the Browns for the North. I'm here for
There
it.
you go. That's it. Screw the Ravens. Screw the Bengals.
Stuff them both.
It's Browns all the way. I also guess the fun fact is I'm like 99% sure the Steelers play the Jets week 1.
So I need to look at the schedule.
So that'll be fun. What happens if it goes out in? What happens if it goes out in? Is it at New York?
I think it's England, yeah.
That's hilarious. What happens if it goes off in
Sunday 7th, 6 p.m.
Literally, I don't want to call voodoo again, but I mean, I successfully predicted that Mahomes would get injured in the Super Bowl, which he sort of did. So what happens if Rodgers gets injured that first game again? I'll actually on that field. It's cursed. He'll need to get like a recce in to cleanse it. I think that's it. Cleanse the stadium for him. I guess the other kind of big news, obviously, Cooper Kupp is back as a Seahawk for a nice little a 3-year, $45 million deal. He's impressing in training camp. He enjoys he said the offense has been revamped and he's bracing his role. Good for Cooper Kupp. Nice to maybe see him go back, try, see what... The Seahawks look pretty good. The Seahawks seem to be kind of turning over again. The NFC is starting to heat up as well in terms of, I mean, who's going to take the crown off of the Eagles, I guess, this year.
Yeah. I think the NFC West is going to be a real interesting one this year. I don't think anybody looks like they're potentially going to run away with it this year. Yeah. Seahawks, I think, we've seen what Sam Darnold's done with the Vikings. The Seahawks have made some good moves and they've added some good things. Cooper got back to his home state. I think Seahawks might kind of go a bit under the radar this season. I think Seahawks could be ones to watch in that West because it is wide open, I think.
Yeah.
The Rams, 49ers will be the 49ers, but their wide receiver room. Brian's almost got a game for the 49ers at this rate, never mind the Browns. And then the Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals could be a bit of a dark horse as well, I think. But
dark horse.
I'm looking forward to seeing Kupp and Darnold hooking up. Also GSN at wide receiver there as well. So I think that could be a decent watch for the Seahawks. I'm thinking, probably Seahawks have got his running back. They just can't get consistent with Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet at running back. I don't know what one of them is going to step up this year because one of them needs to step up and be a good running back for them. Try to get that. I'm
going to be absolute Captain Misery. Right. I am not having can Sam Darnold, like what we watched Sam Darnold do last year, what we watched the Vikings' incredible offensive line, incredible weapons, incredible coaching. What we watched them do was revive the ashes of a broken quarterback. He has went to a situation where, quite like JSN, I think JSN's got a lot of talent. He ain't no Jettas. He has got nothing in that. The Seahawks offensive line is an absolute shambles compared to the Vikings. And yeah, I think we are going to watch Sam Darnold is going to be seeing ghosts. He's going to be getting chased all year. I do have faith on the West being interesting, but that's primarily because we're going to be watching the Seahawks, who I think will be questionable at best, the ghost of San Francisco. Who knows what the Rams are going to do? The Rams are up and down every single year, it feels like. And the Cardinals I quite like. I'll give it to the Cardinals. I quite like the Cards this year. I think they might be quite fun.
Well, just because you're talking about the NFC West and we're kind of doing a bit more of a breakdown, everything I read has people have the 49ers going to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, in what realm of possibility
It's the Super Bowl.
are you... Well, it's because the Super Bowl. It's because the Super Bowl's in San Francisco. I think so. Everyone's like, "Oh, we'll just send them there. It'll be easier on the transport." Yeah, right.
We've already got a box booked.
So what do you mean we're not going? What do you mean we're not going? But I just don't.
The Super Bowls because in their stadium. That's the only way the Super Bowls are getting anywhere near a Super Bowl.
I know.
It's because someone else needs to be presented in their stadium.
Listen, as a Brock Purdy hater, I'm on this train. I can't stand that. No, that's really not fair. Sorry, Brock, if you ever hear me. No. The people are like, oh my god, they've got this, and I'm like, sorry, who? Apart from Purdy, tell me.
Even Purdy's good. As Brian said, he doesn't have all the weapons round about him to lead the team
anymore.
Do you know what I mean?
Not anymore. They all went.
Receiver rooms done. There's nobody there. Do you know what I mean?
I called it at the time. I called it a year ahead of time that the Niners worked because they were the Avengers. You weren't paying Brock Purdy. You paid Brock Purdy because, to be fair, the Niners kind of had to pay Brock Purdy. He had done enough to get paid. But he was never that guy. And don't be wrong, he might ball out this year and do amazing with whatever that wide receiver room is at this stage. But that's what it's going to take. That is what you are going to need for them to have success. You're going to need the quarterback room to be the difference because, yes, I know that like everyone loves Ricky Pearsall's narrative, having been shot in the chest and then still playing football is a hell of a story. Jawan Jennings is, everybody's kind of off-season darling, but there is a reason that teams aren't fighting you for these guys. No, I'm not. So sorry, Sarah, I don't know what news reports you're catching for the Niners being Super Bowl bound.
I need to turn them off. It's ridiculous. I was like, what world?
See if the season was to start this Thursday. Wide receiver for the 49ers, you'd have Ricky Moore and Robbie Chosen. That's who your team. What would the season be for the players that have questionable out could potentially make it? But if you look at the depth chart, both the first three receivers do not have anything beside their name or Ricky Pearsall, Sky Moore, and Robbie Chosen. That's not a wide receiver that was taking it anywhere near the playoffs, never mind all the way to the Super Bowl.
You try to tell me you don't believe in Robbie Chosen?
No, he is not.
Robbie Chosen is not the chosen one.
He's chosen by enough teams.
Aye. Yeah. That's
excellent.
A reason.
There's a reason he's getting tossed about. There's a reason he's getting tossed about. I guess, Gav, let's talk very briefly about a former quarterback. Of yours. Let's talk about Daniel Jones against Andy Richardson. Go on. Tell us what's going on down at the Colts.
Well, if you listen to Colts fans, they're in meltdown with it. Do you know what? I don't know. I think Danny Dimes is probably never going to be your Hall of Fame candidate quarterback. I don't think that's a hot take for anybody. Having said that, Anthony Richardson, to be polite, had his question marks last season. Maybe he still needs another fire to build it underneath him, because there are pieces to work with in Indianapolis. They have a good set of receivers there, which until Neighbours came along, Jones didn't really have that in New York. So I think that it's a great thing when you see your quarterback leave and go to the other conference, because it's much easier to say, it's not like the Saquon situation. It's quite easy for me to say, we see him every 4 years, wish you all the best. Jones. Yeah, I think it's a good landing spot for him. It's all on Anthony Richardson to see if he can turn himself around in the meantime.
Yeah, I don't know if it turns into one of those, because I guess the thing with Danny Downs is he's slightly more reliable. Like, you sort of know what you're getting with him. You can put him out on the field, he'll do a reasonably okay job. Your likelihood of injury is slimmer, because when you compare him to Richardson, what have you got really to base it off of? So I guess for them, they're maybe thinking, as the veteran, and I say veteran because he's not even that much of a veteran compared to some other quarterbacks you've got, is he the better option, Dan?
I don't think there's a good option here for the Colts. I think that's the problem. Daniel Jones, the problem is you do know what you're going to get with him, and it's not very good. I think that is the problem the Colts have got. They obviously, Shane Steichen also thinks it's better than what he's going to get for Anthony Richardson because he doesn't know what he's going to get. So it's like, they go with what I don't know it could be bad, I'll just go with what I know it's bad anyway. This isn't from a hot take, but I think Shane Steichen might be struggling to keep his job. I think the Colts have got good players. This is the thing, the Colts, they've got Jonathan Taylor's a great running back, Michael Pittman's a good receiver, Josh Downs a good receiver, Alec Pierce's a good receiver, picked up Tyler Warren in the draft. They've got the pieces there, but it's just not going to all come together for them. They might just scrape it. We talked about it for the AFC, they've got to be in the South, might save them slightly. In terms of they might pick up some in division wins that might keep them there. It's not a good position to be in. For you to draft Anthony Richardson and sit him so quickly, for all the hype he's got and the talent he's got, it's not a wide receiver that's coming in with all the hype and maybe not the talent. Anthony Richardson has the talent. It's just maybe the attitude, or maybe I'm too tired. Maybe he's just too tired. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the off-season's been too hard for him and he's decided I want to rest for the first couple of weeks of the season. I mean, they've got Riley Leonard there as well. I'm not ruling him out getting some game time this season either. Riley Leonard's a good quarterback as well. Yeah, I don't think there's a good or choice for the Colts here. It kind of flipped a coin between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, to be fair. But Daniel Jones starting gives Jonathan Taylor a better option this season because he's going to get more runs because Daniel Jones can't throw them.
I mean, I guess it's such you slightly mentioned it there, but the AFC South is a winnable division. It is not a hard division. I mean, your ceilings maybe 10 wins, and that will get you through to the playoffs there. And so, Ryan, what's your perspective on the AFC South? Apart from it's crap.
Winnable, but winnable is it, and that's actually, I don't mean it in a snide way. I am out there, so I think Richardson's just a bust. He's done. He's got all the physicals, and we know that. He's an athletic freak. He's incredible that way. Doesn't have a football brain. We've seen it time and again. You look through the other teams, can Stroud recover from his sophomore slump? Possibly, but the Texans haven't really invested in things like their line to protect him. So I'm not massively convinced they're taking a huge step. Titans, maybe. We've seen them, obviously, they're pretty high caliber draft picks, which is lovely. My team, you can enjoy as Sarah for everything as well. I've got faith in the Jags because I've got faith in Cohen. That is where it comes from. We've watched him. Look at what he did with Baker. I am the biggest Baker believer out there, but you only need to look at the huge step that Baker took when he was being coached by Cohen to see what you can achieve. We don't need to think all that far back, and he was he who is I am. And he was going to be the saviour to all things football with that glorious flowing lock of hair that he has. I'm sure he gallops majestically. What he's missed is coaching, and this is what the Jags now have. I agree that 10 wins, I think, seals this division. I think that is it. Once you're at 10, you are gravy. And I can see the Jags being the team to do that. For me, they've got the most on both sides of the ball. They don't have any gaping holes that I can see. I'm not going to say they're going to go any further in the wildcard round, but I think they make it there.
I mean, that's music to my ears.
Okay, the Jags have quite a tough schedule though.
They do.
That
first run of 3-4 games is tough.
So you start with Panthers, get me. Then you get the Bengals, the Texans, the 49ers, the Chiefs, the Seahawks, the Rams. So you could end up being 1-6. But there is winnable games obviously in there. But going by the form book, potential should be 1-6. I don't think he's will. Yeah, it's not a great start to the season. Whereas the tail end of the season, you can pick up a good amount of wins there.
Yeah.
And if you can come out of that first 7 almost at 500, maybe just below, then you'll be in a good position, I think.
Yeah. Brian, you kind of picked up my segue perfectly. Because obviously we can talk about players switching jerseys and switching numbers all they want. But let's also talk about the coaches that moved. There was loads of coaches that moved. This was the season of coaches moving and moving and moving. So we mentioned Liam Cohen. He's obviously the big one. I am, as a Jags fan, I'm very, very happy to have him. As Brian kind of mentioned, I think he did so much for Baker, as we can see, is obvious. He definitely wants to come in and he wants to build the offense around Trevor. And even if you watch him against the Saints, I think Trevor had a problem of like seeing ghosts. Like, you can watch him do this weird like fake out spin every time because he's obviously got PTSD from the offensive line breaking around him. So that's nice for him not to have that anymore. But I guess, Brian, give me your thoughts on Pete Carroll going to the Raiders.
You know exactly what you're going to get with Pete Carroll. He's going to run, well, normally you would expect him to go run first and run heavy. It's what he did for a long time when he was in Seattle. He is established and he has shown us he can do it before. He has a ring to his name. So I look at the Raiders. I think the Raiders are held back by their division this year. It's tough sledding for them. I think that's going to be the problem they're going to face. But I think now, with Pete Carroll, with Geno as well, as an addition in Vegas, I actually see them being not a complete farce of an opponent for the Chiefs. I don't think we're going to see them, do a lap of Arrowhead in a bus when they've not actually won anything other than one match. So I actually, this sounds like such a backhanded compliment, but I'm going to roll with it. I think the Raiders are going to be functional. I think we are going to see a genuine football team in Vegas. I think you're going to have teams that are going to go to Vegas. You're going to need to take that team seriously. You're not going to be able to say it's a banter team. We keep those credits to ourselves in Cleveland. But yeah, I think Pete Carroll's going to bring sense to them. Even the last couple of years, Seattle haven't been amazing, but they've always been a reasonable team that you take seriously. And that, for me, is what Pete's going to take with him when he moves out to the desert.
2 seconds.
Yeah, I think I'm maybe just what Brian said. I don't think that the concern for the Raiders is the hire itself. The concern for the Raiders is looking at a resurgent Chargers team with Harbaugh. So the Broncos really going to make strides. I think it was a bit of a slow start for Sean Payton, but actually he is starting to get a bit of momentum there. And that's not obviously to mention the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, who will be no doubt in vengeance mode this season. Yeah, I think credibility is perhaps what the Raiders will gain, but it's going to be a tough ride.
I think the Raiders do okay. The Raiders have picked up some new pieces. Obviously they've picked up Gentry in the draft. We've seen Amari Cooper signed a 1-year deal there this season as well. Geno Smith, serviceable enough quarterback, will do a decent enough job. And we know if Brock Bowers can take a step forward, as you know, Brian, you love the fact that tight ends don't tend to do very well in their first season, but if Brock Bowers can somehow even semi-replicate what he done last year with some of the pick up the slack as well, then the Raiders could do okay.
There's no reason to suspect that Bowers is going to do anything else than what he did last year. He put the performances in he put last year with what will be inferior quarterback play to what he's going to see out of Geno. Geno is a good NFL quarterback. He is a starter for a reason. And it's worth remembering as well, you've got Michael Myers sitting behind Bowers, who, when he came out of college was hotly sought after, real serious talent. Maybe hasn't put the receiving work in the league that we maybe thought he would, but still, you have got a lot of good weapons sitting there in Vegas. Yeah, Jacoby Myers has chucked in his trade request, so he's going to get out. Yeah. But if you get the Amari Cooper that we are used to in the league, if you get average Amari Cooper and not the kind of the shell of him that we've seen last year, I'm sorry, I'd be starting Amari Cooper over Jacoby Myers. 100%. He's going to be my number one. So yeah, I stand by it. I think, a reasonable team is what we're going to see out of Vegas.
Yeah,
tough division, though.
Is Michael Mayer still going to be there? There's a question for you.
Well,
you want to sit behind Brock Bowers because you're not going to get the game time that you want, especially someone who's fairly new to the league. There's plenty of teams out there that would pick somebody like him up, but it's just what price. I don't think it'd be a high price either for him. So it's interesting to see what happens with him over the next few days.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess in other kind of coaching news, the Lions have lost half of their coaching staff. First of all, let's talk, Dan, about Ben Johnson going to the Bears. Obviously, I was very upset by this news originally when it happened because I wanted him to come to the Jags. And we didn't do the one thing that would let him come to the Jags, but it's fine. I'll move on from it. But Dan, give me your thoughts. Ben, Bears.
Yeah, I mean, you did do it, but after he went to the Bears, that was the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Johnson at the Bears was probably the worst kept secret in the NFL. I think everybody knew that's where he was going to go. The Bears have loaded up massively for him. They obviously loaded up before that for Caleb Williams as well, but I think he's walking into a very good position. From someone who's going to be first year as a head coach, you could have walked into a lot worse teams in a lot worse positions. That team is built for him to succeed. We've said already about the AFC North. The AFC North is probably another one of the hardest divisions in football. So I think it's a good matchup. I think Caleb Williams will take a step forward with him. He just needs to bring the rest of that offence with him, because Ben Johnson is an offensive brain. We've seen some of the plays they come up with the line. Remember that fake stumble fall play that they play? I mean, coming up with stuff like that is going to be good. And I think the Bears potentially have a quarterback eventually that they can look at and as be a leader of their franchise. Whether that leads to success this season is another question, but I can only see major steps forward for the Bears this year.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be this season. I think it'll definitely be a growing pains season for them, as Brian chuckles endlessly.
I think the Bears could be the Lions that we've seen over the last few years. You've seen them gradually getting better. Obviously, you can see they're on a path. You can see they've got a goal. They've got a path to where they want to go. It's just where they get there or not. Do you
know what, Dan? I'm going to agree. There absolutely is a path. It's called tanking this year, getting a really high draft pick, get Caleb Bind, get a new quarterback in that can actually read a defence. Oh, I'm sorry.
And can do clock management. And can clock manage.
Can do some of the basic aspects of quarterback play.
Of quarterback.
All of these things would be brilliant. Hitting receivers in stride, any of the above.
The Bears have got a vision for the first time in a long time, though. They can see what they're trying to do. They've brought in a head coach, they've brought in a quarterback, they've brought in the weapons where they're trying to do something, whereas before it was like a game of Scrabble, you just flung pieces on the board and hoped something happened. I think the Bears have got a goal and then they've got a path they're trying to go down. Whether it works or not is a completely different question. But if you're a Bears fan, you must be looking at thinking, yeah, that looks like we could be doing something, but whether it happens or not.
I'm almost expecting Dan to say "We dem Bears."
No Bears.
Offseason champions yet again. Just you remember it. Year after year after year.
We'll be there. We'll be winning those games and not much else. Well, yeah. So I mean, we'll see. I think it's going to be a growing pains year. Obviously, they've also extended their GM through to 2029 because they align quite well. So I guess we'll see what happens. But on the other side of the Lions, who don't have any coaching staff, Aaron Glenn going to the Jets. Gav, you share a stadium with them. Give me your thoughts on that interesting choice.
Well, I mean, it is a good addition for the Jets. You're getting a good coach. The question, I think, is not about Aaron Glenn, who, of course, has history with the Jets as a player as well. The question is absolutely about the Jets themselves, and is this a place, in that market? Is that somewhere where Aaron Glenn can really succeed? Again, you're looking at a division where it's all about the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, and like say quietly, there seems to be more and more murmurings about what the Patriots might be able to do this year. So it's not going to come easy for Aaron Glenn. I think great coach, tough job.
Okay, I mean, the Jets have always. I feel like the Jets have always been semi-okay on defense. It always seems their offense that can't start to move and shift. So I can see why we've continued down the defense, like a defensive head coach, because if that's where you shine, why not continue to let that shine? But I just don't see anything happening with them.
The other thing you want to look at as well, though, is with it being a defensive coach, with Rodgers obviously moving on to the Steelers, your quarterback's now Justin Fields, who has shown sporadically that he can do things, but is a defensive head coach like Aaron Glenn the right person to help him develop and lead that team forward?
Problem with the Jets, everything you've just said is going to be the problem with the Jets this year, though. I don't think the Jets are going to get blown out week after week. They're going to lose by one score every single week because teams are going to put one score up on them, and then they don't need to do a huge amount from that point on. All you need to do against the Jets is get a lead. You can get a lead. I'm sorry, I do enjoy watching Justin Fields. I think he's really entertaining to watch. I'm not worried about him leading game-winning drive after game-winning drive. It's just he's shown us that he's not that guy. Even in Pittsburgh, where, he looked reasonable when he was in Pittsburgh. But he's no somebody that, opposing DCs are going to be terrified about how you game plan around him. You know what I mean? You stop him running, he's not going to blow you off over the top. You take away some of the underneath stuff and you're fine. So yeah, I feel bad for the Jets. Well, although I have to ruin Garrett Wilson, who I love. I feel like, what a career that man could have had.
I know.
Right, I'm writing him off and he's like 25.
I know. Well, but you're right. Garrett Wilson is the one I feel for. He is such a talent, and you just sort of feel like he's plodding along with the Jets because they're plodding along. But he's such a talent, and he really could shine with a really good quarterback and a really good structure in place. And I just don't think he's got that in Fields. Judging even the little clips you saw of him in preseason, you were just like, oh, okay, all right, Justin. Do your thing.
We saw it with Garrett Wilson. You gave him Aaron Rodgers for a year and he dropped 1,100 yards. I mean, he is a talented player, but you're not going to get production with the current setup, unfortunately.
What I will say, though, is the Jets have brought in Tanner Ekstrand as their offensive coordinator, who was the passing game coordinator for the Lions for the last couple of years. So he's led that Lions passing game with Jared Goff. It made Jared Goff, has elevated his game there. I know they're two different types of quarterbacks, but surely can only have a positive influence in Justin Fields. He's not going to make him a worse player. So I think that could potentially, you mentioned there about Aaron Glenn not being a coach for Fields. He clearly knows that himself, which is why he's brought in Tanner Ekstrand, because he knows that he can't be that coach. You could potentially see that step forward. I'm just looking back at, he was with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan as well, and at San Diego, so he's obviously well thought of because he's been in some big programs at college and then obviously moved into the NFL with the Lions and now Jets, so he's obviously a well thought of offensive mind. Could be interesting to watch to see what he can do with that Jets offense.
I think the other thing as well is worth talking about, we don't always reflect on it when we talk about the coaching carousel, but I mean, Sarah, you've said that the Lions are out of coaches. You maybe actually look at the void that's been left. Other coaches are available, so they have got people in there. And I think obviously a lot of the worry as well, obviously when you lose both of your coordinators, and as you mentioned, Dan, there, some of the other coaches to other teams, you worry about the void that fills with the Lions. Obviously, you've got to remember, one that sets the tone and the culture for that franchise, Dan Campbell, still there. This is also a team that had more than their fair share of injuries last year. I think at one point we're talking about 20 players down. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best defensive players in the league, gone as well. He'll be back this year. It's a competitive division, but I don't think we need to be worrying about the Lions this year.
I think they'll be all right. The Lions are the Lions. Aaron Russell Brown can just run about and catch balls as if they're... And also can throw balls, as we're talking about with the fun plays they do. He can also throw a ball.
We're not that we say the Lions, I mean, that's a good thing.
I was just saying, that is a historic turnaround.
But news only tells half the story. Once the pads came on in pre-season, we started to see which teams are actually backing up the hype and which ones already look shaky before week one. I only have one thing to say, and that is the 70-yard Cam Little kick for the Jags was so incredibly impressive, more so to the fact that there was space underneath the ball. It wasn't just over, there was depth under it. So it's not my full prediction, but I think he's going to hit that during a game. I'm not saying it's going to win the game for us, but I'm saying it's going to do it, which puts the Jags in a really good position because basically it just means you can kick the ball from the other side. Don't even have to talk about punting the ball. But yeah, any highlights from the preseason?
Well, what I say is and now Cam Little's now going to start a trend where there's so many kickers in the league that could kick that. Brandon Aubrey is going to now be trying every opportunity he can get will be able to try and kick that 70-yarder. There's now going to be a competition here who can kick the first one in the actual regular season. I think you've got a couple of attempts at 60 plus in the first game of the season just to test it. Who kicks the first one? See, Cam Little says he's got more in his locker as well. So it's just whether coaches take the chance.
Yes.
That's the thing. He can kick it, but can he kick it every single time? You're giving up a ridiculous field position if you're in a tight game, if you're missing a 70-yard field. Because there's so many, it's not just the kick, as we know, that there's so many things that need to go right before the kicker even makes contact with the ball to make sure that goes through. So it's our coach is going to take the risk in a tight game of kicking a 70-yard field goal? I'm not so sure.
It's probably like kind of end of half situation, not end of game, because obviously, you know, there's higher stakes there, but it's like when you think, well, do you really want to throw a Hail Mary at the end of the half, try and tack some points on, or when you lose that risk of giving up field position because maybe it's the final play, you know, take a shot at it, see if you can keep the scoreboard ticking over. Yeah. It's almost becomes a situational.
It's the Saquon rushing title argument. You know what I mean? When we've seen the Eagles coach say, "Oh, we'll get you back in so you get the max rushing yards." See when the game's done, you know, you're 3 scores up, and it's meaningless. You know, you're putting in, you've pulled starters. You know, do you know what? Stuff it. See if it doesn't go the distance and we give up. We win by 2 scores. Okay, we'll give you a crack at it. That's like, I don't ever think you're going to see a coach allow it at a point where it could potentially backfire. As awesome as it would be, like your first drive of the first game of the season, you stutter in your own 40. Do you know what? We're going for that.
Listen, I wouldn't even put it past them because, I mean, obviously they did it in a preseason game because it's preseason and who actually really cares. But he was like, oh yeah, I can give it a go. He's like, he was so nonchalant about it at the time. Obviously, when he hit it, he was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. You can watch him like Liam did in his kind of post-game interview and he was just like, oh yeah, I asked him if he wanted to give it a go and he said, yeah, okay. So I feel like that's the narrative of it. But yeah, I guess I kind of think preseason's kind of gone how we wanted to go. You can see what teams care, which teams don't care, which is quite a lot of them. I was shocked though. I was listening and saying Josh Allen didn't play a single snap.
Probably not that much of a surprise.
Nope. And I wouldn't have him play one if I am leading up the Bills. Why? The only team that I would say need to start starters is the Bengals. Bengals don't start playing football till like mid-October normally. So yeah, it's probably worthwhile that they start some starters. But yeah, we've seen enough people go down.
Yeah.
You're not risking Josh Allen.
From a Cowboys point of view, I think is interesting is to see Dak Prescott's obviously QB1, but I think we're in a position where if Dak Prescott goes down, we're not going to go and do anything spectacular. But Joe Milton's looking decent. I mean, we had Will Greer, obviously Cooper Rush were okay, but I think Joe Milton could come in there and keep the offense going better than what we had before. We're not going to have to worry about the drop off in terms of we will still have a passing game. We will still have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens catching balls from a quarterback that can really throw at Joe Milton. To be fair, he's got an absolute rocket of an arm. So coming out of the pre-season for the Cowboys, I think that's been a bit of a shining star for us. We know he's not going to push Dak Prescott for QB1, but we now actually have a backup quarterback that we could go, well, it wouldn't be the worst if we lost Dak Prescott for a few games because we all know he's not got the best injury record.
When you lose Dak Prescott for a few games.
Fair.
Minor grammatical point. When it comes to Browns preseason, we found out what most reasonable people knew was the truth. It was always going to be about the quarterback carousel. Browns defensive unit looks great. Looked actually really good on defense. Didn't see huge amounts of, I think we've seen 2 drives with some of the big offensive starters outside of, on the first string anyway. But yeah, the quarterback carousel is the story of the day, and we saw exactly what, as I say, reasonable people thought we were going to see. Joe Flacco is a starter. Joe Flacco is 17,000 years old. You know exactly what you're getting out of Joe Flacco. Dylan Gabriel is a functional backup level quarterback for a Kevin Stefanski offense. He will make short throws. He will do play action. He will put the ball where it's meant to. He will, most importantly, when the play dies, he will do the intelligent thing and throw it away and live to see another down. Shedeur Sanders showed us, particularly this week against the Rams, he showed us why he slid to the 5th. He had a great first outing at the start of the preseason. He looked really good. He had a great stat line in it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a really favourable line. He didn't throw a single pick all off-season, and people will level that against Dylan Gabriel. He did throw a reasonably bad pick 6. But you watched Shedeur drop back and drop back and drop back and start climbing stairs and go into the concession stand and still drop back further because he's trying to show you that he's Shedeur. Retire my jersey. Just play what the defense gives you. Don't try to play hero ball, and that's what he did against the Rams. There's a reason that we pulled him for Snoop to then drop Snoop within 12 hours. It's Yeah, like you seen it. Most egregious was he took that 23, I think, yard sack on something that there was never. The play died. The play just broke down instantly. Throw it out. Throw it out. Take 2nd and 10. Take 3rd and 10. Whatever it was. But no, Shadour's dancing around back there, trying to shrug off defenders and show you he's going to chuck a 70-yard bomb for a touchdown because he thinks that he should have went 101. It's just not. So yeah, Browns, we've seen exactly what we thought. Schweisinger looked great in defence. He looked incredible all off-season. I am very excited to see him. But the big story out of Cleveland's a quarterback carousel. And yeah, it is as we thought it was. It's why we traded Pickett. Because at the end of the day, Flacco will start when Flacco's joints give in. We've got Gabriel. He'll do what you want to do as a backup, and that'll be it.
Schweizer looks even better when the Rams just decided not to block him either. that was a ridiculous play.
Aye, that was, to be fair, that was glorious.
The true goal of any offensive line is to not block.
They thought they were doing wide receiver snaps, and the objective was to get open.
Yep, I think we can do it too. But yeah, I guess that is really the kind of points of the preseason. We've had its fun. I guess the only thing to mention is, and I can't believe I've lasted this long for mentioning it, but she's got one Super Bowl ring and she's now got another one. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. Ding, ding, ding. I can't wait for all the men to hate that news. It's everywhere. So much so that the nice man who was doing the CBS coverage for the waivers even put a comment to say, hold on everybody, breaking news, I must talk about this. However, I do think it teams up nicely. Again, I guess one of my predictions is that this will be Kelsey's last season, and that will end nicely with maybe a Super Bowl appearance, maybe a Super Bowl win, and a wedding at the end of it.
Hang on, do you mean Swift's last appearance? I'm backing him to take her name.
Oh really? Oh, I don't think they'll take either name. I think they'll keep it as, or publicly they will remain as.
Take a breadwinner's name. She makes immensely more money than he does. He takes her name, and we get to watch the fragile masculinity of the internet literally explode at once. It would be glorious.
What?
Sorry, we say Gav, sorry.
You've got to hope he gets a good prenup.
Yeah, well,
let's leave that for our podcast to discuss.
yeah, let's that. Look, we're sure to get some fragile men on to talk about that. But let's get to the fun part that everybody wants to know. Let's go to our, it's far too early, but let's do it anyway, predictions. So I want to hear who you think is going to go at the Super Bowl. I don't need to know who you think is going to win the Super Bowl, just who's going to get there. I want to know who your MVP candidate is, and give me your biggest surprise. I feel like Dan looks quite confident, so go ahead, Dan. You can go first.
I'm now actually rethinking my surprise, because the one I said off air, I'm now debating, so I'll think of that. So anyway, Purple, I think for the AFC, I think it will be the Bengals who get to the Super Bowl. I think they'll finally put it all together. I know Brian, I can see Brian try to laugh, but I think the Bengals eventually will put it back together and we'll get to the Super Bowl. I want to see against the Cowboys, but I can't put that much confidence in myself to say the Cowboys will go from the NFC. So I'm going to go for the Minnesota Vikings. Bengals-Vikings Super Bowl, and I think the Bengals will win it. And as a result of that, I think Joe Burrow will be your MVP for a season coming. Yeah, I think he can do it on his own without the weapons, obviously, in terms of numbers and stuff like that. He can put up Joe Burrow to throw for 500 yards a game and 40 touchdowns a game, and he will be your MVP. What takes? The one I said off air, I will say I think the Steelers will have a losing season. I don't think we talk about the weapons that they've got or the lack of weapons that they've got. So I'm going to go with Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins, will be the first head coach to lose his job this season.
Don't think that's unlikely, to be honest. I think that's the worst take I've ever heard. So I can't.
Hot takes now. I'm not that hot, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, my hot take is not a hot take, but because everybody else agrees with me, but that's okay. Gav, you looked quite shocked by the Bengals and the Joe Burrow throwing yards and touchdowns, so I would love to hear what your predictions are for the season.
Well, do you know what? It's dull, but I think the Eagles will go back to the Super Bowl. Sometimes it's a parity-driven league. You want to think there's going to be change, but they were so dominant throughout the playoffs. They've not had a lot of change in that roster. And yeah, the pieces on both sides of the ball, the two lines in particular. But then you think you've got Saquon, you've got E.D. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts. I think they are definitely going to be the team to beat, but I think they've got all the pieces to measure up there. On the AFC side, I think the Bills finally getting over the hump. I think that the Chiefs have the stuff knocked out of them, and I think that finally the folks in Buffalo are going to get a Super Bowl to cheer about. I think in terms of surprises, this is again maybe like some of the others, it's not that bold, but I think we're going to see something from the Carolina Panthers this year, aided in fact by the fact that they are in the NFC South. It's not the trickiest division to win, and obviously once you're in there, if they can win a home playoff game, that's a great season for them. I think we will see a bit of a surprise package there. Bryce Young now has a good receiver to throw to in McMillan that come through the draft. So yeah, I think there's some positive signs last year, and I think they'll surprise a few folks.
Who do you think your MVP is then?
MVP, I think you always know who the contenders are going to be. I've put Josh Allen in to win the Super Bowl, so I will have him going back to back.
We'll keep the quarterbacks as winning MVP as normal. Right, Brian, go right ahead.
Right, so I'm going to be a slight cop-out merchant because one of my Super Bowl contenders is my shocking hot take that I just did. And the only reason they're one of my Super Bowl contenders is because I have done so many fantasy drafts and I have so many shares of this offense. Evidently, I am a fan. I am backing the Denver Broncos. Broncos country, let's ride. I am here for it. There is so many parts of this offense that I think are genuinely going to be really good. It's built on top of what is, I dare say, could be the league-leading defensive unit in the league. I think Denver's going to be right up there. But I am calling Denver to be my big shock of the year, go all the way through to the Super Bowl. And I think they're going to meet the Lions when they get there. I think that the Lions were great to watch last year. The reason the Lions were great to watch last year was a wee bit like the Bengals. They had to be. They had so many injuries, particularly on the law of averages says that shouldn't happen to the same team 2 years in a row. Sorry, Lions fans, I've clearly cursed the entirety of Detroit. But I'm backing the Lions to get there. I will say, I don't think the Lions are going to be as electric on offense this year, but I don't think they're going to need to be. I think they've just got a really talented roster the whole way through it. I think it's going to do enough. They're going to have more pieces back on the defensive side, yeah. And yeah, I think I'm going to call them to meet the Broncos in the Super Bowl. My MVP, I'm going for a quarterback, sorry. Because we all know it's a quarterback award. But I'm not going for a Super Bowl team. I think the league is going to right the wrong of last year. And this is Bengals fans. I'm with you. It should have been Joe Burrow last year. Joe Burrow should have been last year's MVP. He balled out all year. And you just watched him die a little inside every time you watched yet another offensive drive scream the whole way down the field for a touchdown. And then he had to walk on again before he even had his helmet off. I think he's going to need to do it again. I think he's going to need to spend another year. It's a joke at this point. But Joe Burrow has to throw for 300, 400 yards a game. He does. That Bengals team might have re-signed Hendrickson. They don't have enough on defense. Their secondary's in tatters. He's going to need to ball out. This year, I think the league rewards him for it. And Joe Burrow's going to walk away with the MVP.
Yeah, it was really... I watched a couple of episodes of Quarterback and watching that poor boy speak at the end of every single game, being like, I don't know what else you all want me to do besides throw the ball. Literally, he was like, somebody please help. And yeah, I mean, I would love that. I do like Joey B. I think Joey B is a bit of a character, and he is maybe going to become the new face of the NFL, because I don't know anybody that doesn't really like him. Even people that don't like football like Joey B.
Bengals need him to become a cornerback as well.
Yeah, literally. So can you just play all the positions? Can you just now do a Joe Frit? Screw Travis Hunter.
Both ways.
Can you please play both ways? He did do an impressive tackle. There was a clip of the quarterback where he did an impressive tackle after he threw an interception. I was like, okay, Joey B, I see your style. Okay, I'll give you mine. Right. So Super Bowl prediction. I'm going to go ahead and say I think it might be, again, a Super Bowl or bust, but I think the Ravens are going to finally do something We're going to finally get through the postseason when we go into the playoffs, and we have to start actually doing something, Lamar, and we'll actually score touchdowns, even if the toes are aligned properly. So I see them going to the Super Bowl, and I'm going to agree with Gavin. I think the Eagles are going to get there because, again, they've not really done too much apart from pick up more people as they've gone on. And how they've managed to let that happen, I don't really know, but they've done it. And I just think they're going to be a sleeper. Again, we'll all forget that they're winning, they're slowly winning, and then we go, oh shoot, how have we got here again? So I think that I'd like to see Lamar win MVP, but I mean, maybe depending if the Eagles have a better season for Jalen might win it. I am a believer of like mostly it's quarterbacks that win MVP, so that's fine. But my hot take, and again, as you mentioned, it's not really a hot take, but I think the Patriots will finish behind the Bills in the AFC East. I think they will finish second. I'm not saying they make the playoffs because the AFC is stacked, but the Dolphins are always difficult because if Tua doesn't stay healthy, then the Dolphins always usually slip and slide. And the Jets are the Jets, as we have established.
Because the Pats finishing behind the Bills was a big gimme.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Pats could do well this season, like you say. The AFC is stacked. Trying to get into the playoffs for them is going to be difficult. It's not out with the realm of possibility that they do it. But even finishing second for the Patriots will be a massive step forward. It'll all be about the culture Mike Vrabel will be put in there because we know he loves that team and he loves that franchise. He will make sure they know what it means to play for the teams. That could make a massive difference. We've seen it with other coaches. We talk about Dan Campbell all the time and mentality and that he puts into the lines and it's been successful. So I see Mike Vrabel can do something similar with the Patriots.
Once he chases the rats out.
I
actually said that taking a Mickey, but it does actually back Dan's point. It shows you how much he is culturally all in. He's like, stories are coming out of this building and I ain't happy about it. And I'm going to call the people who are releasing this stuff rats to the national media. The man is all in.
He wants to do it. And even last year, Drake May wasn't
terrible.
Drake May's fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad by any shape or means. Again, they didn't have, I guess for them it was more like, who do you have? Who is on your roster that you've got with them? But now they've got Diggs, and Diggs can do. Oh, Brian's then is making face to say, do not pick him up in your fantasy team.
Yeah, they have the ghost of Stephon Diggs. They've got a great running back from him.
Yeah. Losing
all in on the pass
loss for them though. He could have a good year. Jalen Polk this year, losing him for the season is going to be a massive loss for him because behind Stephon Diggs, you've got Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, Mac Hollins.
Demario Douglas has impressed in camp. Does need to be said. He has been impressing pretty much all off season.
Yeah, so they've got, as we say, they've got quite a bit. They've got wide receivers there that will do a job. It's just how far
whether or not
them is the question.
Yeah, and also their bye week's late. Their bye week's week 14. Wow. So I guess you've got to get to week 14, right? That's really late. But and then if they're in a good standing, it gives them quite a good for a playoff push.
They don't have that difficult a schedule either.
No, they've got. I mean, they can play. They can beat the Raiders at home, the Panthers at home, the Browns. Sorry, Brian. Falcons.
They could go 4-0 at the start of the season. Look at the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Steelers, and the Panthers. They could go 4-0 in the first 4 games. But then they play the Bills. Fair enough. But then they've got the Saints, the Titans, the Browns. Are the Patriots going to be 7-1 by week 8?
And this is the thing to think about. Obviously, we're saying they're against the Bills, but it's a division game. And division games are always crazy.
I'm giving that game to the Bills. You know what I mean? But as I'm saying, looking at that schedule, they could easily be 7-1 by week 8, which
they could be top.
But they could
AFC.
So beat the Bills and they're 8-0.
8-0. Gosh. And I actually eat my hand.
We're just getting some realm of impossibility in this podcast. It's probably time to wrap it up if I come up with that nonsense.
We went for the Patriots might have quite a good year to 8. Some jumps
being jumped.
That was a pretty well take, but that's okay. We can go.
The Patriots will be.
That's that. Everybody recon. Dan's hot take is that the Patriots go 8-0 in the first 8 weeks.
The Bills that one. Patriots will be 7.
Oh, sorry, they'll be 7-1, top of the AFC.
That's it.
And we'll all be going, holy Jesus. Well, everybody, I think you're right. That is a wrap for episode 1. We've gone through the moves, the headlines, the vibes, and even indulged in some absolutely wild predictions. So next week, we'll have week 1 matchups to talk about. And we'll be talking about who has shocked the NFL right out of the gate. So stay tuned, as always, and we will see you next time on Tartan Touchdown.